few things. We got the book, the Durablocks, little demonstration, not really demo, but current project. And then what else? Do you have anything?
No, I have zero. WFC.
Sale announcement.
Friday is November 1st. So, yeah.
So is that the last day of the submissions?
No, October 31st. So we will not. Next Friday is November 1st. Woodworkers Fighting Cancer will be over by then.
Okay.
This is the last week.
Okay. You best check that attitude.
I know. I'm just so. You frazzled my shit by moving us.
You know we're live right now.
Oh, sorry. All right.
That's called raw behind the scenes, baby.
First time live viewer. Hi, David.
Welcome, David. Enjoying
You're seeing
Nicole in the raw.
Oh my God! It's just too much going on right now.
You're like the brown pack of sugar at the table that no one ever uses. Nicole in the raw.
Oh, that actually
That
makes me laugh.
Okay, good. I'm glad something snapped you out of it.
Yeah.
Okay, so just to give you an idea what's going on, the kids have off from school today, so they are
Monday.
home.
So
and
it's a
Monday.
4-day week. Plus, I got a birthday to plan.
Got a birthday party, family out of town, so we hired a cleaning service to come in and help. So there's a person cleaning the house, the kids in the house, the dogs in the house, and the two adults who own the house are in here doing a show. So it's a little stressful. I also asked Nicole to move. This is what she said by messing up her S-H-I.
Yeah,
I'm not going to repeat it.
Bill said he's frazzled too.
Yeah, she's frazzled because I said let's move the show a half hour earlier so that we can just get it done, get back in the house, and take care of business. And
I'm running around like crazy. He's out here. He goes, I gotta go set up for the show. Meanwhile, I'm like, kid wants breakfast. This wants breakfast. This wants an app. This wants the TV. This one, and I'm still, my hair is not dry. I'm not together.
Well, dang, that's the
like,
worst. You know what's good about having short hair? It's dry.
I don't want to hear.
And almost no hair.
What's great?
Okay. But you did get a breakfast sandwich from Einstein
That is
Bagels
true.
this morning, didn't you?
As I'm reflecting on that sandwich, I'm like, I really shouldn't have sat down and ate that sandwich. I should have just been go, 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 go.
Yeah.
Or
okay.
if you just left it at 9:30.
Come on now. It's fine. It's fine. I like Chris says. Smash that like button. Simple things for the simple people.
And of course, you know, a bunch of people are going to come in going, I thought the show was on at 9:30. It's his fault.
I thought this was a family show until Nicole started talking. Then I realized, whoa, we need an explicit tag.
Oh.
Okay. Well,
Sorry.
there goes the monetization for this one.
Okay.
All right. You want to start a show, Nicole?
All right.
You're the best. You're the best.
I just got so much on my mind.
All right, let's get it started here. It's Friday Live. I'm Mark.
And I'm Nicole.
And she's got a potty mouth. Let's go ahead and get started with some stuff. We got some things to show you, a little progress update on a project. I've got a book to recommend that was sent to me from the Reclaimed Wood peoples, the Sawkill Lumber people.
You've been sitting on that one for a while.
Yeah, I have. And I've got a cool tool. And I think I'm going to try this every week.
Cool tools.
Or maybe that's just good. That's kind of a played out way of saying it. I'm going to come up with something for like a weekly, this is a neat thing that I think you want to check out. And I will give you a link to it if you want to go and pick that up.
Neo-Frito tool?
Neo-Frito?
Neo-Frito.
Neo-Frito?
Weren't you ever a kid?
I was never a kid.
Well,
I actually looked like this in 3rd grade. It's a little awkward. Other kids were afraid of me, but...
Neo-Frito. You've never heard of Neo-Frito?
Yeah, I've heard of it, but it's weird.
I always said it a lot when I was a kid. Neo-Frito.
So if anybody has an idea for the segment we're going to call, where I actually pick something... And again, this is not... I mean, if it's an advertisement, you'll know it. I'll definitely say it if it's something that someone paid for. But this is just stuff I think is cool, that I think you'll think is cool.
That we bought on Amazon.
That I bought on Amazon. And then Colorado State Taxes comes after me and says, we want to make sure you paid all your tax on the stuff you bought, which is actually something we're going through right now.
Last week for Woodworkers Fighting Cancer, I should probably announce, when was the 20th? I'm lost.
5 days ago.
So was that before or after Friday?
It's the 25th. I don't know.
So it was this week. Yeah, it was the beginning of this week. Okay.
Yeah.
So the auctions actually closed on the 20th, and we raised over, I think, $12,000.
That's awesome. And we haven't even calculated all the submissions, right?
Exactly. So I've kind of readjusted the goal to be 15,000. I'm just now telling you this.
Oh, okay. Whatever you say.
Because the participation has been amazing. I sat at my computer all day yesterday. I probably sent out at least 100 emails confirming. So everybody is paid. Thank you for everyone that participated in the auctions and then thus paid to the charity. I got everybody's order in. I have a ton of boxes because I'm going to be shipping out, hopefully later today, get to the UPS store and ship out my quilt. And
we already the raised dog bowl went out yesterday.
The raised dog bowl went out yesterday.
Yeah, we
have all your planes to ship out. I have ISO tunes to ship out. And
most of the other stuff is from the manufacturers.
Yeah, the companies are Woodpeckers have already shipped theirs. Everybody's been notified.
Yeah.
So if
you've been notified.
So if you still want to participate in the build, that's still going on. I'm taking submissions until Thursday, which is October 31st. I am slowly getting up the photos on woodworkersfightingcancer.com. So if you scroll all the way to the bottom, there's a whole photo gallery. So if you've submitted it and you're like, where's my photo? I have it. I just have it. I'm downloading and organizing. I'm feeling very frantic lately.
Wild stuff, Nicole.
Yeah, wild stuff.
What's the guild sale this week?
Oh, the weekend guild sale.
Sal?
Outdoor furniture.
Oh, I love outdoor furniture.
The the farmhouse table. Farmhouse table and bench by Mr. Matthew Cremona.
Okay.
And then the Adirondack chair by you.
Oh, nice.
I make a little feature in the Adirondack series.
Farmhouse table, that's a popular one.
It
and
is.
The Adirondack chair, that's also a popular one.
So if you just go to the woodwhispererguild.com, you'll see the banner at the top.
Yeah.
And you just click. There's no coupon code. The 20% is just automatically taken off. So if you bundle it with more projects, you'll get additional discounts on that bundle.
That's my favorite part. I love that.
Okay, I'm done. I'll take your questions now.
Okay, go get some questions. I'm going to talk a little bit. Jay just texted me, and he's reminding me to talk about the Festool long life bag.
Oh, yeah.
So this is something that a lot of you, if you follow, Festool's stuff, you may know about this and may already, you may be like, Mark, you're stupid. Everyone knows this. So Festool came up a long time ago with their long life filter bags. So instead of buying the replaceable disposable bags, you just use this one repeatedly, and they say you get up to like 500 uses out of it before it has to be replaced. So I've purchased those in the past because I just thought they were a good value. They're really expensive, but when you calculate the cost of filter bags and how many you'd go through times 500, it's a no-brainer, right? It's way, way cheaper.
What's it called? Festool?
Just long life bag.
Long life.
I'm hoping
I feel like
that'll be.
I should get a fortune cookie with it.
Yeah, hopefully that'll be my nickname when I'm in my 80s.
Is it?
Long life bag.
Which one?
Well, they make all different ones for every vac. Every vac has its own size. So
that's expensive.
Well, they are. They're like the bigger ones are like over $200.
Yeah.
But when you calculate the cost of a pack of 5 filters, filter bags, regular bags, it's pretty expensive.
Are
they? Yeah, they're right there. Click on that one. Okay. The white one. That's the filter bags.
It's $50.
So $50 for
one.
A pack of 5, right?
Yeah.
So you can see if you can get 500 out of this other one, it's definitely financially a no-brainer.
Gotcha.
So I had those. The problem is, and they say this on there, that it's not really meant for fine dust. It's meant for large chips and large particles. And it's hard to avoid in a wood shop getting fine dust in there, especially if you use it on something that has a sander. You're going to get fine dust in there. Well, I just kind of... You know how we sometimes ignore things, like even when you have instructions and warnings, you just
me with you, you with me,
sort of, yeah. Like you just kind of ignore them and see what happens. So yesterday I'm cleaning with one of our Festool vacs, and I'm like, Jason, is this thing not like sucking as hard as it used to? I've always felt it was weaker, and for a long time. So we changed the filters, we empty out the bag, we put it back in, and it's like, something's not right with this. So I do have a couple of filters, the disposable ones, and I popped one of those in there, and I'm like, holy crap, this thing is starting to pull up my heavy, 3/8-inch thick rubber mats.
Oh,
it's starting to pull them up off the floor. The suction is so hard. And it's like, this whole time I hadn't realized, slowly but surely, because I have fine dust, it's filled this material in the long life bag. I'm nowhere near 500 empties.
Yeah.
But the fine dust has completely clogged it, and it's not getting any airflow.
So can you like take a compressor to it and?
I don't think that's usually not a great idea. I mean, you could, and I mean that is one thing that people do. Maybe turn it inside out and then blow all this. So you could do that, but you could also just buy. I've got some of these other filters, so I threw one in there, and I'm like, all right, this was kind of crazy. I should have listened to the instructions. They really mean it when they say no fine dust. So anyway, just word to the wise: if you have one of those and you continue to use it for fine dust, you are not going to get the full life out of it, and you're going to make your dust vac, your dust extractor, work a whole lot harder. Trying to pull air through that filter bag. So it was just interesting. It was a little enlightening.
So what you're telling me is that you wasted a $200 some odd bag.
Yes, but I bought it like 6 years ago. So I did get a lot of life out of it.
Okay.
But again, it's for large chips, So if you're using these dust extractors for the things we typically use them for, then it's probably not a good buy for people like us.
Right.
Okay. Anyway, I just thought that was interesting. Okie dokie.
All right. You got some Patreon questions?
I do have some Patreon questions, actually.
Any Patreon thank yous?
I should do a thank you. You're on top of it, Nicole. Patreon.com/woodwhisper if you want to help out the show. A couple people did that. Jeffrey Smith and Charles Masters. Thank you so much, guys. We appreciate your support.
Thank you.
And we do have questions pre-selected from our patrons. We'll get to those in a second. And I want to show you some stuff here.
Tim J.B. says, what Mark is saying is he needs to follow instructions.
Generally, yes. I am working on a knife display case right now. This is going to be a free site project. Bubinga, baby.
Are you going to show your joke
that you
were so proud of?
I was really proud of this. Those of you who don't follow me on social media, check out my sweet little finger joints here. How does that make you feel? What do you think about that?
It makes me feel bad because I'm next to you.
Yeah. I love it when I post stuff like this, and it really weeds out the uptight people. And I get the guys who are like, oh, that's tacky. And I'm like, no crap. Of course it's tacky. I'm talking about flatulence, dude. A 40-some-year-old man talking about farts.
Hey.
That's as tacky as it gets. All right, so anyway.
But here, look at my woodworking.
But while we're at it, let's look at my Bubinga. So these are, this is sort of the outer case. We're going to have little ramps that are going to go inside this thing so the pocket knives can be displayed very nicely. Someone mentioned possibly doing like a watch display case, and I think this could be repurposed for that.
Ooh, yeah.
So I have one watch, so we'll have to see.
Watch.
I have
Let
watch.
alone many watches where I need a case.
I don't need an entire case. It'll have a glass top for display. We're probably going to put like a half mortise lock in there, some nice Brusso hinges in the back. So I don't know, it's a fun little project, and that's as far as I've gotten so far with that. And let me show you a couple other things here. This is a book, and this was sent to me by the folks who were at the Sawkill Lumber place. They sent us all those boards where you complained about the Worcestershire sauce, the boardwalk stuff, the stuff from I forget what it was. All reclaim stuff. Well, anyway, they have a book. It's called Reclaim Wood, a Field Guide. This is actually something you can get on Amazon. We have a link. Actually, I should have sent you these links.
Yeah, you probably. I can look it up.
Yeah, hold on.
What's it called?
Reclaimed Wood, a Field Guide. It doesn't matter. I'm going to put this link in there myself.
Well, I got to put it in the Amazon store.
Okay.
Underneath Friday Live.
So I'm going to quickly read this. This is like the promo stuff. Wood reclaimed from old houses, factories, barns, water tanks, boardwalks. It's become a valuable commodity, treasured for the patina. So this is the first complete visual handbook for this popular resource, covering history, culture, salvage, sources, contemporary uses in buildings and furniture, practical advice. Illustrated with historical photos, images of modern applications. Reclaimed wood is ideal for DIYers, blah, 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 blah. Let me see. What are the guys' names? Shoot. It's on the back of the book. Give them a little shout out. We got Alan Solomon and Klaus Armster. So I did leaf through this. There's some cool stuff in here. I mean, I don't do the reclaim thing much, but if I did, this is just a fun book and great photos. I saw some things where they were identifying different types of flaws that you're going to see how to kind of, like, these are just great examples, and they explain what they are. A lot of historical stuff, and a lot of these relate to the wood they actually sent us. When
really?
They talk about, like, you know, a particular type of flooring from a particular place.
Right.
I'm actually thinking some of those pictures in here might pertain to those exact boards. Right, so this is good stuff. You may want to check that out. I know I will. This is almost the coffee table book because the pictures are so pretty, but obviously a lot of good information.
Does it turn into a coffee table?
No. It could, though. You never know. I'm going to put, crap, I have trouble copying and pasting links here. Okay, so I'm going to put some more links in there.
Stop putting links. Stop hijacking my feed.
Well, you don't have the links. Okay, this is the cool tool thing. The, what'd you call it? The
Nito Frito.
The Flimmy Flammy tool. So I was at what's his name shop. Who's that guy with the British accent? Philip Morley.
Philip, you just released a video.
I did. His shop tour video is out now. When I was in Philip's shop, he busted out these Durablock sanding aids, and these are usually you'll find these in the auto body industry, right?
Okay.
Not as typical for woodworkers. But these, they make a few that are super duper handy, and I wanted them. And instead of grabbing like an oak dowel and wrapping sandpaper around it to, you know, kind of work the inside curve of something, these guys are foam. It's rigid foam, but it's still actually got a little bit of give. It's kind of soft. It's easy to cut if you want to cut this into two. Like, this is too long, I think, for most things for woodworkers. You can get two out of this. And you just wrap it with a little bit of sandpaper, conform the sandpaper to the shape, and you've got a really nice sanding aid. This is going to come in super handy. So I was looking around at Amazon and I saw this one, and this is actually a soft, flexible block, and it's two-sided. So the light gray is a little bit more cushiony, and the black is a little more rigid, just like this stuff. So both of these are still soft. So if you're using this on curves, you can actually fare a curve pretty nicely with something like this. And if it's something that's a little bit more sculptural, or that's a hard word to say, sculptural, or you want something that actually, you know, really knocks down all the ridges and the hard spots, you would use the softer side, and it flexes quite a bit more on that side. So just by grabbing a little piece of sandpaper scrap, slapping it on here, you can do some pretty cool stuff with this. So I'm excited to just incorporate these into my sanding regimen, and I thought you guys would be interested in this too. And again, this is not an advertisement, but the link that Nicole will share, or I've shared in the chat room and in the show notes, this link will be an affiliate link at Amazon, which does help support the show. We get a small kickback if you make that purchase. So thought you guys would be interested in this stuff.
Bada bing.
Bada bing.
Speaking of Philip,
bada boom.
If you haven't had a chance already, on the main site, thewoodwhisperer.com, is the Philip Morley shop tour.
Yeah, when I was there doing the table.
You released it yesterday.
Yeah, the Morley kitchen table, which is still on pre-order in the guild. I was like, hey, dude, let's do a quick shop tour. Show me that Morley mortiser thing that you got there. And he was like, yeah, sure. So it was a good time. He's got a nice little shop. I mean, it's not that small, but he's got a lot of big tools in there. I think the big tools make it seem smaller than it is, because he's got a big Euro-style combo machine, shaper, table saw, jointer planer combo, and a second table saw. He's got multiple planers, big giant homemade sanders. It's like,
and he's just an all-around nice guy too, with
he's
nice
all right.
family.
He's okay.
And he has a great accent.
Yeah, he's got it's an interesting accent.
It's a English Texan accent.
That's what some people say.
Yeah.
I just hear the English part of it.
Yeah, I just hear the English part of it.
But yeah, it's cool. He's a good dude.
Do you have some Patreon questions? Because I have questions I've been grabbing from the chat.
Yeah, let's jump into Patreon. So Araya Woodworks, I don't know why I stumble on that. I say it every week. How big is your shop now versus the Arizona shop? Do you miss the extra space, or do you still have too much? As in, you need to walk a lot between tools to get from one side of the shop to the other. This was funny. When I posted a picture online of the snow yesterday, I posted it on Facebook, and someone goes, hey, does that make you miss Arizona? And I'm like,
no.
Nothing will make me miss Arizona. Just my personal situation.
It's hot.
And that includes the shop. So size-wise, the old shop in Arizona was 1,800 square feet. This shop is less than 900. So significantly less, at least 50% less. and I am much happier in this space. And a lot of that is psychological, living in a place where I would prefer to live that has a huge impact on my enjoyment of woodworking and being in this space. But I've also said in the past that sometimes spaces that are repurposed spaces, they come with restrictions. And that seems like a bad idea, like a bad thing or a problem. But in fact, restrictions usually inspire creative solutions. So when you have a big rectangle of 1,800 square feet and no interior walls outside of the bathroom, you look at that space and it's like, I don't know what to do first. Like you're almost afraid to put obstructions, and those obstructions would give you little alcoves and little places that would help the space make more sense. I never got to that point in that shop. I was almost overwhelmed by the number of options I had with a big open space like that. So the space between the tools wasn't a bad thing. I kind of like that because sometimes in the middle of doing a project, I like to do a little twirl. So instead of just walking from one tool to another, maybe a cartwheel, it's good to be able to do these things. But it was really the creative solutions on how to group tools together, where certain things can go, committing to putting cabinetry in the space. Like that was a big deal to decide where's the computer gonna go?
Yeah.
Where do I put my first set of cabinets? And if you look at the latest videos from that shop, it still kind of looked like an unfinished, not and like an incomplete thought. And here, it didn't take very long in this space for me to go, okay, I know where I'm going to put that. Okay, I can put that there. Perfect. And yeah, I hit restrictions, but I find creative solutions to them, and I feel like I'm way more efficient in this space than I ever was in the Arizona space.
I got a question here from Reggie Nelson.
Reggie!
When you do use double-sided tape to assist in a project, what double-sided tape brand do you use? 3M, I think.
No.
No?
Oh, no, Nicole.
No?
I don't know. Let me see if I can find one in my most recent orders, because I did order one from Amazon. The stuff I used to buy was from Rockler, and let me see, double-sided. There it is. Okay, so the one I'm using right now is Spec Tape ST501. It's working pretty well. This is one where if you don't have a little bit of a fingernail on it, you might have trouble getting the backing off of it. But I'm pretty pleased with its ability to stick and do what it's supposed to do. You might need to grab a little pocket knife or razor blade or something, again, if you don't have those fingernails, to take that corner back. Your brother always has a hard time pulling the backing off. But I do find it to be pretty decent as far as this kind of tape goes. It's fairly thin, so it's not going to apply or like create a gap between the two pieces you're putting together, which sometimes the thicker material, especially things like a double-sided tape you might be able to get at Home Depot is like a foam. That's not good. That gives you too much movement between the pieces. So it's really thin, seems to work pretty well, but I've been using so much CA glue and blue tape for my sticky, like really important, I don't want this thing to move tasks, that I use a lot less of the double-sided.
But that's the blue 3M tape that I was thinking. That's
the blue tape CA
trick.
Glue trick.
Yeah.
And not my trick.
The video. There's a video.
Yeah, I did a video on it, but it's the Crimson Guitar Guys trick that I picked up from them. Okay, my next one here is from Chris Calnassi. He says, to continue the frame and panel question from last week with the entry bench, he says, for something with 1/4-inch panels, how much slop and room do you find adequate in regards to fitting inside the groove? And what about the width and height of the slop? Let's see, finally, what are your thoughts on Spaceballs, both the 1987 Mel Brooks classic as well as the frame and panel aid for expansion and contraction?
Hey, so are you going to answer
I will,
question?
I just needed a drink of water.
Okay, because I was going to talk if you want to take a moment.
No, don't talk, Nicole. So, first of all, Spaceballs. We just talked about this last night. Mm-hmm. When I had my wisdom teeth removed years ago, I had a copy of Spaceballs on DivX. And I watched the crap out of that when I was high on Percocet. And I watched it over and over and over and over. It's a great, great movie. I don't really use Spaceballs. I mean, there may have been times where I've tried something like that. I've even taken, because I didn't want to buy Spaceballs, I would take when I had the really lightweight shop flooring, the rubber foam floor pads, I would grab a razor knife and just take a little bit of that material and cut a little piece of that, and you could shove that into the groove, and it actually does the same thing as Spaceballs. So if you're not familiar, the idea is if you have an undersized panel with room for expansion, you don't want that panel to kind of rock back and forth. So you put these things called Spaceballs in there, and they are foam that will fill that gap, but also compress as needed if the panel expands. So generally speaking, I'm not putting such a big gap in my panels that it matters that much. And my fit, to go to the first part of your question, the panel is a slip fit when it goes into that groove. So yes, it can move back and forth, but if I hold the piece up, it's not like the panel just goes shoom, or it go this way and it goes back down that way. It's usually that friction fit that's holding it in place, so there's no rattling, there's nothing like that. If things dry and get smaller or thinner, and you then develop a rattle over time, that's where those Spaceballs can definitely, be advantageous, because you can't predict exactly what the wood's going to do, right? So if you do develop a rattle, those things can help avoid that. Usually I just don't do it because ultimately, you're talking about this entry bench. What's it going to do, right? It's just sitting there. So no one's going to take this bench and go, like move it back and forth and be like, look, it's rattling, right? There's no point. So I would make sure your panels are a nice slip fit. Definitely double check with the dry assembly, because if all your grooves around the inside perimeter are not perfectly in line with one another and your panel is perfectly cut to fit, you might have a problem getting something together, right? So sometimes that's why we might thin our panel out to help it enter the groove if the grooves aren't perfect. But double check that as long as everything is nice and snug, not too snug, because as soon as you start gluing this thing together, you might have trouble. That's where the dry assembly is going to help you with that. But you shouldn't necessarily need the Spaceballs. Vertical gap, not much, hardly anything. There's really not much expansion, when you're talking about with the grain and that vertical dimension. But side to side, I usually give at least a 1/16 of an inch per side, so a total of like an 1/8 of an inch for the panel's width. So there you go. I'm done. Now you can talk.
Yeah, I don't want to.
All right, I'll do my next question. The moment passed.
Zucker Woodshop just asked, why don't you mark or brand your items? Why would you ask if he does?
I do.
In fact,
You son of a gun.
I just picked up a new branding iron with our new-ish logo. Mm-hmm. What was the company that I used?
I don't know. We went around and around with that.
Gearhart, I think.
Yeah, I actually do. Sometimes I forget. There are times where I just go, like for instance, now I feel bad because I just remembered the dog
You didn't
riser.
Oh my god.
No, I was in there editing video. Jay wrapped that thing up and it is gone.
Oh.
And I was hoping that I would have the branding iron in time to brand it and sign it. So ideally what I like to do is brand it with the logo and then at least sign my initials in a burning pen. I do try to do that on anything that is going out of my circle. Mm-hmm. A lot of times if it's for a family member who lives nearby, I might just give them a piece of furniture and not sign it.
I can't believe you forgot to do that.
I know.
So the branding iron is from Gearhart Industries, and we haven't gotten it yet. Can't
vouch for the quality.
Can't vouch for it.
But that's what they do. They make branding irons.
I was looking for a U.S.-based company that did branding irons, and this one came up.
Well, and we showed branding irons like maybe a year ago that a company sent us, and they were branders that were getting into like woodworking branding, right? They did other type like steer branding and stuff like that.
I guess I don't know.
But they didn't have electric, so these were the ones that you had to torch, right? They were beautiful branding irons, but it's very unlikely that I'm going to sit here with a friggin' torch and warm that thing up. Like I have enough trouble getting a consistent result with electric.
I did find it. I put it in because I was looking for that one for reference. I put it in a drawer in my office.
Oh, okay. Chris Kalnassi says he has the Gearhart brand and he loves it.
Oh, cool.
So there's one thumbs up. So we'll show
it. I like Chris. Chris is
all
good
right.
Guy.
He's all right. He has a lot of questions.
His opinion.
He's got a good sense of humor. He's blushing right now. I know it. He's blushing. Just like you, Nicole. Okay, let me get to my next question, shall I?
Get to your next question. My kids, Mateo's asking for a play date today. I'm like, dude, it's a work day.
I got a play date with some wood. Okay, who am I doing now? Charles Masters? Yeah. So Charles asked, what's the best finish to use on red oak to retain the color and grain pattern? I've been watching all of your off-cut videos for the last year, and a lot of your videos, blah, 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 and my brain is full. Excuse me. My brain is empty. I just keep putting it out there. So this is a tricky question, Charles, because I'm not 100% sure. I mean, it's subjective what you mean when you say retain the color and grain pattern. Generally with red oak, that grain pattern is retained whether you want it to be or not. Like you have to work hard to say red oak, lose your grain pattern. Those grain lines are so deep, and it's part of what makes red oak look like red oak. You can certainly make it more intense. There are certain things you could do with dyes where the dye sits down into that deeper grain, into the pore pockets, and just kind of pops it a little bit. But it sounds like if you're looking at raw wood and saying, I want to retain what I see, I'm going to assume what you want to do is retain the natural unfinished look. And the only way I generally do that is with water-based finishes. Water-based finishes aren't going to change the color very much, and they're not really going to do much to, cause it to intensify the contrast between the grain and the surfaces. So I think water-based is going to be your best bet, assuming I'm understanding what you are referring to as retain that color and grain. You can do one if you got one. I got a couple more here.
I got Nick Gutterman. Hey, hi, Mark.
Hi.
Hi. I'm looking for my first good all-around Japanese pull saw. Do you have any favorites?
No. Actually, I do have a favorite. It's the one, what is the guy's name? Michael something? Local guy. Remember? Air Marshal?
Oh, yeah.
Oh, I don't remember his last. Well, maybe I shouldn't say his last name.
No.
Excuse me. Okay. So he went to Japan and actually got me a saw. So a genuine, they're all probably genuine when they come from Japan anyway. They're just imported. But he went to Japan and got me this beautiful saw. This thing, I had been using a Dozuki for years that I got when I first started woodworking. And I guess I just didn't realize how dull it got. So I would cut things, I'd be like, it would take a long time. And then I used this thing and it was like 2 strokes and it was done. I'm like, okay, so that's sharp. All right, so this one is razor saw, Japan, and a bunch of characters. These look like Japanese characters.
You threw away the plastic thing that was on it.
Well, of course.
Well,
you want me to save that?
Well, I probably had more information on it.
I'm not the guy to ask on this stuff. Maybe Wilbur's website might have a recommendation.
Oh.
Giant Cypress. Wilbur
Pan?
Yeah, Wilbur Pan likes to do Japanese tools, so maybe he has a recommendation on there. There's also a Facebook group called the Piedmont Japanese Joinery.
Oh, I love his website. Says he's a Japanese tool punk.
Yeah. So also check the if you get into that group on Facebook, again, it's Piedmont Japanese Joinery something or other. Those guys geek out on the Japanese tools. So check that out. But again, my recommendation isn't going to be very useful to you.
Do you want me to ask another?
I got one here.
Okay.
Matthew Hall says, starting to cool off, I'm going to shorten this question for him. He's asking about humidification and dehumidification. He says all summer long he used a dehumidifier for the shop and it was a big help. And now that it's getting colder, he's asking about humidification and wants to know if we have recommendations. He says he had a pump that allowed him to collect water in a 5-gallon bucket. So he's thinking in the opposite side of things for a humidifier, is there a way to not have to refill this thing constantly? Because with humidifiers, especially if it truly is really dry, oh my gosh, those things empty out so fast. So I don't really have a good recommendation for something like that, but I feel your pain because unless you have a constant water source and an ability to collect any overflow, stuff like that, humidification becomes a bit of a problem. So maybe the chat room has a better suggestion. The only suggestion I have is the humidifier that we use, or at least used until we got the whole house system working, and that is, it's a fairly small unit. I mean, when you're considering a shop space, it's the AirCare Whole House console style evaporative humidifier. 3,600 square feet. It's got a little filter medium in there that you could replace, just this little thing that you wrap around. They work pretty well. I mean, we use them when the kids are sick.
And you can fill it. You fill the canister twice.
Yeah, so you do one fill, let it empty out, go back and fill it again, and now it's full, and then it will drain through. And that lasts quite a long time.
Yeah, I'll let it
You
run.
can get like 24 hours out of that, right?
Easily.
So now we only use it for when the kids are sick and we feel like we need to pump up the humidity.
I was meant to tell you, it's getting really dry. I need to turn the temperature down. It gets hot upstairs for the temperature's too hot.
Yeah,
I like to be a little chilly.
I know, but the problem is the way a whole house humidifier works. It's only on when the heat is on.
Well, then I'll turn the
So you have this like...
I'll get these out.
Yeah, you have to break these out if you want that to work. Anyway, so that could work in the shop. You do have to watch dust because it is pulling air in, so it can get really dirty and you're gonna have to clean it. I don't think that that's a great solution for the shop because it's gonna get nasty, but it might be something to look into. As far as like feeding water to it, that might be tricky, but if you have a hose bib nearby, it shouldn't be too bad to fill it up because you can also just remove that little thing and take the hose and just dump it into the trough on the bottom and just fill it up. So that's something to look into.
There's Sarah in the chat room. Sarah just said, I just discovered your site and channel this week.
Holy schlamoli.
We've been doing this since 2006, Sarah, so you have a lot to go back through. So after returning to woodworking last month, thank you for all your work. I'm looking forward to becoming a guild member where I'm able to do so. I also quilt.
You're out. No quilters, no knitters. Everyone knows.
I'm a quilter too.
Welcome, Sarah. Thank you for checking out the show.
And I think you'll like the guild. We have a number of women instructors there. And we have
that number is 2.
A number 2. I'd love to get more women in the guild teaching.
Yeah.
And I think too, you'll find a lot of support with the other women woodworkers who are already in there.
It's also a fairly like ego-free, judgment-free zone.
Safe space to ask questions.
Yes, exactly. What else we got here? Let me get my questions up again. So this one is from Spencer. Spencer Adams. He says, how are things going, Mark? You doing well? That's good. It's a very nice personal touch there. I like that. For me, I'm having an issue with my little Ryobi drill press. It's having a difficult time with larger 1-inch plus Forstner bits. I adjusted the speed of the drill press according to the chart that came with my bit set, and my drill still has a tough time cutting, even through softwood like Douglas fir. Is it the drill? Is there some way to fix the issue, or do I just need to junk it and get something newer and better? Thanks a mil. So here's the thing, I don't know for sure, Spencer, because I've used Forstner bits that cut like crap. I've got a cheap multi-bit set that I got from Home Depot. The reason I have it is because it's got such a wide range of sizes and really big ones. I just don't use them often, but I have them in case I need it in an emergency. The things I use most often, I wind up getting a good quality set. So if you've used a cheap Forstner bit in the same drill press and then got a really good quality fast cutting Forstner bit set like Bormax, even the Festool set is insanely fast cutting. It's a night and day difference. The drill press doesn't have to work as hard with those higher quality bits. So I'm not going to say that you should throw out your drill press. It might just be the quality of the bits, but I don't know what bits you have, what their quality is, and even if you tell me what they are, I might not have actually used them, so I can't speak from experience. But I'm going to say the bit could be the culprit. The other thing I might try is while you have dialed in the speed based on the chart, I might increase that speed a little bit. So if you do have a less, slightly underpowered drill press, you might need that extra speed to build up a little bit more momentum so that when that bit, because that's what happens with Forstner bits a lot of times, they hit a chunk of wood, they kind of get caught up and it needs to punch through that, not super aggressively, but it's just got to do its job, and sometimes that little additional boost of speed will give you some extra momentum to push through the cut. I wouldn't go too nuts with it because the speed recommendations are there for a reason, but I would goose it a little bit and see if that doesn't improve the results. But you may also have to look at your bits.
Wolfman said his whole house humidifier is wired to run whenever the fan is on, so I just have fan cycles that run every half hour. Why can't we do that?
Yes, because the way ours was installed was not done that way. Here's what happened. We have a really smart thermostat.
That's stupid.
The guy who installed because what happened was we had a unit that was installed on the system that broke, right? So we piggybacked on that setup and got the new unit installed. The original unit was not installed to work as a separate function with the thermostats that we have. right? So it only turns on when the heat is running or the air conditioner is running,
Not the fan?
not the fan.
That's lame.
Because our thermostat has a separate humidification control. And you could say, I want the humidity at 35% no matter what, and it will just run.
Okay.
So I don't know.
I don't know either.
It wasn't installed
Right
correctly.
now is not the time to try to figure it out.
Why not? Let's do it. Let's call the guy and get him back out here.
Mike Taber says, Mark, I built a walnut table with satin wipe-on poly. In certain lights, I can see the streaks. Where I wiped it on, will buffing it remove the streaks and not make it glossy? How should I buff it? Out.
Possibly. I mean, if you go and buff it to more of a satin sheen or a matte sheen, you can kind of obscure some of those streaks, because the streaks might be something that are in deeper layers. So if you just kind of buff that top layer and you go for a gloss, you might still just see some of those streaks. And it could be pressure from your hands. It could be the finish being built up with more flatteners in some strips than in other areas. Excuse me. But one of the ways to mask it is by obscuring the whole thing. And that's where if you go, I don't know, maybe like if you have a 1,000 grit sanding pad or 800 grit sanding pad or something like that, and you do a wet sanding on the top, you might be able to smooth it all out. It'll be beautiful, especially if you do a nice, good quality wet sanding. It's going to be gorgeous, but it might help obscure some of that appearance. That might be a solution. Sometimes a good fix is to put on one last coat, but don't wipe it on as aggressively and thinly as we usually do. You almost want to put like a brushed coat so that it levels out, it's nice and even, and then you get a little bit more of a consistent look. That's one of the traps with wiping on. I mean, I get this question about Armor Seal all the time. Wiping on Armor Seal by the third or fourth coat of like satin or semi-gloss, they wind up with a lot of streaks. Well, because with wiping, we tend to put like uneven pressure on the surface because we're going so thin with a rag that you can kind of leave these long pools, if you will, where there's strips, where there's just a little bit more finish built up in that area, and it ends up in this sort of streaky look.
Streaky. I got a question here from Jay Cooney. Saw the green and green adirondack chair went on sale, and I have been wanting to build one for a while. Seems like a perfect birthday gift. Question for you. How has it held up since you made it? Anything else you would do differently?
Well, what's great about that is in that series, there is a video that I did that was an update. Who was it? What's her name asked?
I don't know.
Oh gosh, she's so nice and I forget her name. Anyway, someone in the guild asked me.
Jeannie?
No, not Jeannie. Dang it, never mind.
Donna?
Donna Krieger. She asked how they were holding up, and it was time for a refinish anyway, after moving from Arizona to Denver. So I took them in the shop.
They
I said,
got beat up in Arizona.
yeah, and there were two different finishes I tried. I had two chairs. I put one finish on one finish on the other. And there's a video showing how they held up. I talk about each finish, what I don't like about it, what I do like, and then I addressed what I'm going to do to both of them. And now they're both finished equally, and they've actually held up really well. They're doing great because they're in a partially covered patio, so they kind of they get some moisture on them. They don't get much sun, and they are doing fantastic out there. But anyway, the last video in that series is kind of answering, hey, let's fast forward 4 years, 5 years, and see how they're doing, and then address, treating them again. But right now, they're great.
I love that part of the guild.
It's so cool.
I wish
for
you
some
would
of
do
these
that
videos. Well, I mean, I do it when I have a reason to, right? So a lot of times, that's something we don't normally do. Like you buy an instructional set of videos. Well, when it's over, it's over. But in the guild, you might suddenly get an update, 5 years later that's like, hey, here's how this thing held up, and it answers those questions of what happens over time with these things. It also says we're getting really old. It's a delayed joke.
Well, I'm talking to Eric Liu. Eric Liu in the chat room just said, I would like to gift Sarah her first guild project. How can I do that? So I'm like, what?
Whoa, what a nice guy.
So nice.
Who is this?
Eric? So Eric,
Did Sarah leave the chat room already? She already decided. She's like, yeah, not for me. Sorry.
I think Sarah's still in there. Eric, I'll email you. And Sarah, email me, Nicole@thewoodwhisperer.com. If you haven't already signed up for the free picture frame project in the guild, do that.
Yeah, sign up for the picture frames because then that puts you in the system and it's easier for us to grant and transfer projects if you're already in the system. And the picture frames is free.
Yep, and it's fun. And
it's so much fun.
So much fun. It's Matt and Mark working
Matt and
together.
Mark having a good time, making picture frames.
We need to get Matt back out here again to do something else.
Yeah, we do.
I think that'll be a good thing.
Okay, Michael Sean Sador. He says, at the moment, I have a PM 1300 dust collector with a 1.75 horsepower, blah, 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 but I find that it lacks in suction. He's got 60 feet of duct work, and he's unable to pull the chips. You know, this is one of those questions where I wish I worked for the company because I have no idea what they're talking about. He's wanting to upgrade to an Oneida 5 horsepower, wanted my opinion now that I've been using mine for a while, and if I know the difference between the Dust Gorilla Pro and their high static air pressure system model, which states it's for fine dust applications, but doesn't say how well it works for chip removal. As always, love the show. I don't know about that second part of the question. I don't know anything about their high static thing. That might be a good question for them. As far as the Dust Gorilla 5 horse unit that I have, it's fantastic. I've said this a few times when people ask, how do I like it compared to the Clearview? When a dust collector works, even if it works like better than another one, if the other one was adequate, most people don't have the ability to tell the difference, right? Is it collecting the dust and chips? Yep. Okay, good, right? So the Clearview did that for me in Arizona, and this Oneida is doing that for me here in Denver. And it's interesting too, I learned as we were doing this, I had to get a slightly more powerful unit than I originally expected because at elevation, things work differently. So I had to go with a more powerful unit because I guess a 5 horsepower unit is not, or 3 horsepower unit is not as powerful in what it can actually pull out of the tools at elevation than it is in Arizona, for instance. So that was a nice thing to learn. But anyway, I don't know, but all I can say is that this one is more than adequate for my needs in this shop. I love the Oneida unit.
Sean in the chat room says the Funko Pop figures behind us now are judging our dandruff. We use Head and Shoulders.
Head and
we do
Shoulders.
not have dandruff.
I still might, because I'm a dude.
My
I don't
vault
care.
These are actually, these two are mine. So this is Claptrap from Borderlands, and this is the Vault-Tec boy from Fallout. And then you got Wallowitz and Sheldon, and those are Mark's.
Yeah, I don't know if you guys noticed, the backdrop is a little bit different. Yeah, well, I did some stuff.
I got my Ladies Elite.
Yep, we got our Out of Time license plate and a Ladies Elite cover. I moved things around. The band hammer is now front and center.
Oh, these are the ones that David Wiggins
did.
David
Wiggins gave us these really nice.
I know they're supposed to be coffee.
They're coasters.
They're coasters. So
but now they're wall decorations.
We mounted them on the wall.
So I do have a video coming out real soon showing some of these like elaborate, simple but maybe overdone hangers. And I'm probably gonna do a whole series.
This is slick.
Yeah. So the ones that I made, first of all, I did this. This rack for my scrapers and my spoke shaves.
Yeah.
That one will be in that episode. This is a router plane holder with room here. Someone told me I got to flip these around because it's a hazard.
Oh, yeah.
So let me flip those around.
Like if I had leaned back, I would have been like, ow!
Probably.
Ow!
You would have cut your back. So this is just a little holder for that and all the little cutter heads. And I did a drawer. I posted this on Instagram. But I really went all out in designing a drawer holder for all of my chisels, for my good chisels.
Somebody, Craig, said that they need Funko characters of us. No, I really don't like Funko. They have dead eyes. They have
dead eyes. Giant black eyes.
Dead eyes. Like, I'm
black
not
orbs.
a fan of Funko that much.
That's kind of what I look like, though.
Yeah.
Giant black orbs for eyeballs. And I also made a card scraper holder, which is nothing more than a block of walnut with a bunch of slots in it for card scrapers. That's over there. But all 4 of those will be in this video. And then I could just enjoy all the people getting upset because I used walnut to make some like simple shop furniture things.
You really know how to like pull the angry out of people on the internet.
Well, look, it's not hard, Nicole. The internet, as you know, a collective, is easily moved to anger. And the thing is, it's like, and I actually did have to start that video with a little bit of a speech to be like, look, why I'm doing this stuff. Yes, it's overkill, and a lot of the stuff I do is overkill, like the tool chest inside the workbench down here. Why do I do it? It's because I love woodworking.
Yeah.
Like, this is my career. This is my hobby. This is what I dream about at night when I'm not dreaming about Nicole. Because this, look at her. But seriously, I love woodworking. So I geek out on it, and I love watching things that are beyond my ability. And I think a lot of other people do too. When I first started woodworking, I would watch people who do things that I couldn't do and have tools that I don't have because I aspired to have them and I aspired to have those skills. So when I'm deciding what do I want for the content of my own show, I want to give people inspiration. But some people are of a different mindset and they see something that is out of their reach right now and they go, rah, 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 rah. But it's like, do we generally watch things because we want to see exactly our situation? Like, would you watch a sitcom about your own family?
Well, but I will say this. Seinfeld was popular because it was kind of like a everyday nothing.
Yeah, but it was a very overblown.
It wasn't New York City.
It was an exaggerated version of that simplicity and so well written to be funny. And characters that are actually very unrealistic in a lot of ways.
Yeah.
But what I'm saying is we don't watch these things to simply observe regular life, unless you're like a reality TV person. But even then, as you know, reality TV is not reality by any means. So my point is, we want to watch things that inspire us to do better, to be better. And if I can take my walnut scraps and make some really elaborate holders for tools, because this is where I spend my time and I want to see that on the wall, why begrudge me for doing that? Like, I can't understand that mindset. But there are people who see that and they feel knocked down by it instead of
intimidating.
Lifted up.
So, and I hope most people that watch us know that when you, especially in the guild, it's a series of steps.
Yeah.
You know, like this beautiful rocker, I look at that and I go, I can't wrap my brain around that. Like, how would I even do that? But when you look at it from a series of steps, one at a time, methodical, and having everything you need, then it's not so intimidating.
No,
I felt like that
not.
with the quilting. Quilting for me was super intimidating, but I found a woman that broke it down step by step by step. I was like, oh, this is actually pretty easy.
Right.
So, yeah.
Well, and that's the other thing too, like people I see someone mention something about the scraps. It's like, walnut scraps, there's no such thing. And it's like, you know how you get walnut scraps? You build stuff with walnut.
Yeah.
And then after a few projects with walnut, suddenly you've got a lot of walnut scraps. And why not use them to make other things that are functional, but also beautiful in the shop?
Yeah.
So
there's your Friday morning.
There's my Friday morning soapbox.
Inspiration.
Yeah. I think it's important. I think there's different mindsets. And when you see things that are not currently available to you and not in your price range, or maybe you don't have room for a tool that I have, that doesn't mean you should be down on yourself about it. It means, find another way to do it or aspire to eventually have that thing.
Brian did a show title, Don't Begrudge Me, Bro.
Yeah, don't begrudge me, bro. I like that. Well, yeah, the mallet is intimidating, and that's Scott Hampshire's fault. So you can blame him for that.
It's all because of the woodworking community group on Facebook.
Yeah.
Oh, man, that can be a train wreck in there.
Matt Stone wants to know what my favorite Red Hot Chili Peppers album is.
I can tell you mine.
I thought you were going to predict mine.
No, I don't. Mine. I'm a fan too.
I don't know how far back your knowledge
Blood
goes.
Sugar Sex Magic is my favorite.
Come on, you could do better than that.
It's my favorite. I listened to it constantly in high school.
I'm going to go back one step further.
You going to do Mother's Milk?
Mother's Milk. We were listening to that in the shop the other day, and I'm like, see, this is where it got good. This is where Chad Smith signed up, and they still had a little bit more of that like crazy, weird LA funk and not radio friendliness that happened on Blood Sugar Sex Magic. Yeah. And I love the Chili Peppers.
See, Gary,
love it all.
Gary Higgins and me are on the same page.
Yeah, you guys are what we call posers, Nicole. But still, man, some of the early Chili Pepper stuff to people who think they know who the Chili Peppers are, completely unrecognizable in their sort of punk funk craziness.
One of our mods, John, agrees with me. Case closed. Science.
No, you guys. Have you guys even heard of Jack Irons? That's my question for you. If not, you're not part of this conversation.
All right, we got a question here from Matt Van Overloop. Should I thin Ephiphanes if I'm applying with a foam brush, trying to finish up the dog bowl stand? Hey, Matt, thanks for building the dog bowl stand.
Yeah. Well, regardless of how you're applying it, Epiphanes can definitely be thinned. Epiphanes is thick. Like, have you ever seen, what is it, like corn syrup in the kitchen? It has a real thick consistency. Mm-hmm. It's
viscous.
very, very thick, super viscous.
Viscous.
So generally speaking, if you read their application instructions, they recommend diluting it and then decreasing the dilution as you go with your coats, because the thinner it is, the more it can kind of penetrate into the wood fibers. So I probably on most projects would never even bother applying the stuff without thinning it maybe 40 to 50%. Like, you got to thin it pretty good to get it so that it really brushes out nicely. So yeah, if you're using a foam brush, I would totally thin it.
They were all worried we were going to say Californication.
Oh, come on. I'm cutting you guys off at Blood Sugar Sex Magic. And I like Californication, but I'm just talking as far as the evolution of the chili peppers.
Yeah.
We're not going past Blood Sugar Sex Magic.
Let's see. We got a question here from Gus V. Mark, what tips, techniques over the years have resulted in big improvements in your clamping glue-ups? Huh? That's what he said.
Where's the question?
Right there, from Gus.
I'm just thinking about Anthony Kiedis right now. He's so dreamy. What tips and techniques
in
over the
Back
years?
to the Future.
Yeah. Swipe your card, McFly. See you at the plant. All right.
Oh, yeah, chicken.
Have resulted in big improvements in your clamping and glue ups.
Oh gosh, a lot of things, Gus. That's a loaded question because it really depends on what we're gluing up.
Yeah.
The use of cauls is a big thing. A lot of times you don't need nearly as many clamps as you think you need if you use a supporting caul that helps spread out the clamping pressure. Using things that are soft. So a lot of times, depending on the wood species, you go and clamp something down, do the glue up, only to find that you've dented your work with your clamps. So cauls, again, are helpful for that, but also cork-lined cauls, and sometimes on really like pre-finished projects, if there's a finish applied, I'll actually get a soft cloth, just like finishing rags, and I'll put that between the clamp and the work to ensure that I don't even damage the finish. Gosh, there's so many things. That's just a couple to think about.
Maybe that could be a good video. Sounds like if there's a lot.
Maybe. Sure. It's contextual is the problem. So I would need all of these examples of these glue ups.
Maybe a new book.
Nicole, do you want me to be involved in this family, or do you want me in the shop all day? Come on now.
Oh, that's funny. I got a question.
See, Alex knows what I'm talking about. He goes, I like it when someone says their favorite Metallica album is the Black Album. Poser.
So much judgment.
It's just that's when the general populace became aware.
And who cares? Who cares?
Real fans?
No,
Nicole?
no.
Real fans care.
Yeah.
Listen, my life changed when I went to a drum clinic with Chad Smith.
Yeah.
In a small
Chad Smith was at the drum clinic?
It was a drum clinic.
With Chad Smith?
What do you think the drum clinic is?
I don't know.
You made it sound like he was at the doctor's office. Like, oh, the drum clinic. That's where drummers go to get fixed.
Was he there? Did you meet him?
They put on a drum clinic.
Okay.
That's what you call like when a drummer comes and he does a deep dive into his methods and his teaching. It's like a presentation or a seminar.
Right.
Okay.
I know.
I'm going to use your terminology.
Can you just tell me, was he there? Was he there?
I hope he was there because it was his drum clinic.
Okay, that's all I need to know.
It was in Jersey, and it was in this like tiny place where like one of those places where they have weddings, like a reception center, like a reception hall or something. And it was fantastic. It was like he was 5 feet away from me, and I was terrified.
That was your introduction to...
No.
Oh,
I was a big fan by that point,
gotcha.
But I was like, it really solidified
your love.
My love of that man. And everything he does.
That's why that shirt I got you of him and Will Ferrell, they look so much alike. It's so awesome.
Jason said that he hates that.
Why?
That like he did the charity thing, but that Chad Smith hates that people call him Will Ferrell. Or like when they see him in public, will hey Will.
Yeah.
Like I don't know that that's true. That's what Jason said, is that he doesn't like it.
That's funny.
But you don't argue with Chad Smith.
No.
Okay, what else?
Rick Feldman says, building a porch swing out of cypress. It will be in the yard. I love how
We're so off topic today.
We go on our tangents.
I'm going to apologize, especially for people who might be seeing this for the first time.
He's trying to cheer me up because I wasn't in a good mood.
Yeah, you're on your own, sister. I'm done with that. You got new video games to play today, so
I
you should be
do.
excited.
I'm gonna.
Outer Worlds.
I need to finish Borderlands 3 first, though. But I do want to play Outer Worlds.
Okay.
Rick Feldman is building a porch swing out of cypress. It will be in the yard attached to a frame. What finish should I use?
Oh gosh, again, another loaded question.
I know.
Outdoor finishes have become this thing that I'm semi-obsessed with as I experiment, and I've tried a lot of things in the past just to see what would happen. But the bottom line is, outside, any finish, especially clear finishes, that we apply will degrade over time. And the more UV exposure it has, I'm actually less concerned about moisture. Ground contact is certainly a concern. But moisture is not as big of a concern for me as UV, because UV will very quickly start to degrade the finish, cause it to lose its integrity, cause it to start to flake, to thin out, and then you have a little bit of wood movement happening underneath, and then the finish just can't handle that. So if you have a full exposure project out there, it doesn't really matter what you use, it's gonna be a problem at some point. So this is why a lot of people recommend going with non-film forming finishes. So I did a pergola in the backyard, and I'm gonna go with I can't remember, I think might be a Penafin product. I got it in the cabinet over there, but I gotta wait for the wood to acclimate. Once it's at that point, I'm gonna hit it with this stuff because it's non-film forming, which means I may have to reapply it a little bit more frequently, but I don't have that film on the surface that's eventually going to fail, because once the film fails, it's kind of like you need to remove it all and then have a do-over, right? So you have to really pick your battles with this stuff. So look into it, look into some oils. My recommendation these days is to go with oils that don't form thick films and roll with that. And just know that maintenance is just going to be part of it, or you simply apply the oil and let it age naturally. And he said it's out of cedar. So it's a rot-resistant species. It should be okay, but learn to be okay with gray wood.
Gray.
Or paint. If you're really, really concerned about it and you want it to look crisp and new and good and require little maintenance, then consider paint.
Bill Ockert in the chat room just said, I have lost 2 lifelong time friends to cancer recently. He got outbid in the auctions and he no longer has a dog, so he wants us to put him down for $1 per completed Woodworkers Fighting Cancer bull holders. Thank you.
Oh, wow.
Bill, thank you for that. Next Friday, I will hopefully have a final count of how many projects were submitted. And then once I have that number, then we'll make our donation and you'll see that there. So I really appreciate that for that offer.
Yeah, and we've had this in the past. In the past, our primary focus was the pledges, right? We try to get as many people to build as possible so the pledge amounts go up. We try to get companies who would match the pledges. That was really tricky to do. But the one thing that always happened, and we haven't even talked about it until now, is other people would say, hey, I'll match these donations, or I'll put in $1.
Or I'll auction my project off and I'll submit.
Donate that.
So like Jason Small donated last week and I sent him a thank you.
So if there are any individuals, or maybe you work for a company that would be interested in doing this, if you guys want to match as well, or just pick a dollar amount per completed project, we will tell you what that number is. And then if you want to get in on this, you could say, we'll donate $1 per finished thing. Then you just do the math and make the donation directly to the charity. Like, what is ours, $5 and $10?
We're 5 and 10.
So we're 5 for every completed photo,
Yep.
10 for every video. And you can pick whatever numbers you want, but that was a popular thing that a number of people did to contribute because they couldn't build.
Yep. All right, and I put a link to Cancer Research Institute. I've said it before, but I really like this. They get really high marks on Charity Navigator, which is a website that looks at all charities and like how transparent they are, where their money that they raise goes, and all of that. They get a really high mark, and they focus on all cancers with immunotherapy.
And a lot of immunotherapy, right?
Yep, a lot of groundbreaking research from them.
That's what we need.
Let's see, we got a question here.
We should probably finish up.
Yeah,
because
we should.
It's been awfully quiet.
Yeah.
And I'm a little nervous. And I have all the interior cameras turned off to conserve the bandwidth.
Oh,
QoS
yes.
to you all. Okay.
Glenn just wanted to know what you think of Stanley 750 Sweetheart Chisels. I don't think you even have them, so I don't think you can.
No.
have
I think I may have touched one.
Touched one.
Because I think Philip Morley has some sweetheart chisels.
Okay.
They actually, I don't have them on the wall anymore. I was going to grab them. They look a lot like the Lee Nielsen's.
Okay.
But from what I understand, that's a pretty good set. In fact, when we were talking, Jay and I were talking about him possibly having his own set of chisels that he could learn how to hone, and then he can mess them up and not mess mine up. I was thinking about getting him the Stanley Sweetheart set. To me, it looks like a pretty solid set.
They're a nice little.
They're not. It's not like they're cheap either.
No. Well, right now they're on sale. They're normally $95. Are on sale for $87.
According to Amazon.
According to Amazon, yeah. Well,
but it's a nice little four-piece set.
Camel, and verify the price.
Yeah, nice four-piece set. Looks pretty good to me. I mean,
what's the difference between this four-piece set and this four-piece set?
We're on Amazon, so the difference could just be a different vendor.
Yeah, maybe.
Either way, though, the Sweethearts, from what I've read and seen, they seem like a decent set.
I mean, 335 ratings, and it's almost 5 stars.
4.5 stars, right?
Yeah.
And they also have an 8-piece set.
So I'm just going to throw these in the Friday Live section of the Amazon store shop. Amazon.com.
Bill says
Wood Whisper.
Bill says that lack of sound that every parent immediately recognizes and mortally fears. Oh man. I think we completely derailed the chat room into talking about music. and it looks like a lot of Metallica history is going back and forth.
Back and forth. I got a question here from Jerome. When you have a hard cut to make, say a compound angle cut, how do you decide to make a jig for a power tool, table saws, bandsaw, versus making each piece and cutting with a handsaw instead? Or is it just a matter of counting the number of parts to cut, or does it depend on where the part ends up, i.e. a sloppy hand cut in a hidden tenon isn't as bad as a visible part?
Here's how I do it. I start off by going, hand tools are stupid.
No, you don't.
And then I design a jig and I cut it. Honestly, very few joints that I cut will be cut by hand, at least initially. I typically use my hand tools for sweetening and fine tuning because I like the reliability, the repeatability, and the accuracy of power tools. And they get me 99% there. My hand tools get me the other percent. And I also have fun using the hand tools. So the only time I usually cut a full joint by hand is if doing it via the power tool is either difficult, impossible, or just creates other problems that it's like, well, if I just cut it by hand, I'd be done, right? And then, sneak up to my line. So that's just for me personally. Other people may have a different, decision matrix for deciding when to do one or the other. But anytime you have multiples of something and you have to get, the higher importance on accuracy and the more you have to make, the more you should be thinking about designing a jig or something specifically for a power tool, because that's why they're there. They're there to make things faster and more accurate if possible. Only if I have a few, and certainly if it's something that's hidden that isn't going to be seen, I might consider the hand tool route just because my hand tool, let's say sawing skills, are not quite as good as my ability to do something at a power tool because I don't use my hand saws very often. But it's going to be kind of a personal decision with that because, you ask Shannon that question, you're going to get a very different answer.
So I just got a question in, where is it at? In the chat room from Lord Simon Belmont.
Oh.
Does the guild discount at Belforce work in the store? I live across the street, but the guy I spoke to was seemed not to know anything about it. Is there a secret handshake? You know what? I don't know. But I can't
imagine that it wouldn't. Those guys are cool there, and we've got a long-standing relationship with them.
What I'll do is I'll email.
Like in store would be even better.
Yeah.
Because they don't have to worry about shipping. And you're just ask somebody, and if they don't know, ask a manager.
What I want, I'll just ask Eric. Because here's the other thing about the guild: you actually get a digital membership card. Because we have some vendors in the past that want to see verification that you are a guild member.
Yep.
And so we have a digital membership card. In fact, I'm going to share my digital membership card with you. There it is.
Yeah, and you could share the link with a vendor and say, I'm official.
Yeah, you can pull it up on your phone and say, here's my guild
That's
verification.
That's a cool feature. I love that.
I do too.
We also have a new feature in the guild. I forgot to mention this. A few folks asked for it. Specifically, Nathan was talking about our guild meetings and the fact that they're long, and he would like to have some sort of way to track his progress in case he can't finish a video. And these series we do sometimes can have 10, 15 videos. So having a progress meter that tells you where you are in the video, if you had to stop and go to the bathroom and come back. So now we've added that. So you have progress meters that track how much of the video you've seen. Seems like a simple feature and a no-brainer that should have been there, but when you're a small company like us, using whatever resources are available, sometimes these things are not automatic, and you have to get someone smart like John Funk to code that stuff in there for you. So,
all right, we should
Let's
probably
wrap it
wrap
up.
the show. Pick a winner,
Pick a winner chicken dinner.
and I will look at the show titles.
Red
from-
Hot Chili Peppers. I like that one.
I like that one too. Showbot.
Everybody's doing title suggestions now.
Oh, yes.
Okay, so yeah, I guess if there's no other remaining questions that we can just knock out real quick, we'll finish it up.
Thanks
We're
for
good?
hanging out.
Okay, yeah, have a great weekend, everybody. I've got nothing to say. I'm just gonna start working today.
Yeah. I'm going to go make sure the house is still...
I'm gonna go
I
make sure the
gotta go.
house is still standing.
Yeah.
What could have happened is the garage could still be here, and you walk through that door, and it's like opening up to a post-apocalyptic world. Ava and Mateo. Something else. those
Easy
two.
on the walnut, buddy.
Hey, easy there. All right, thanks for watching, everybody.
you.
Have a wonderful weekend, and toodles, my noodles.
Bye. Did we...